Carmelo Anthony. If you're like me, you remember that sound. You remember where you were when the Denver Nuggets drafted number 15 from Syracuse. The dream was finally here. The Nuggets had a star, had a superstar in the making. They had a player they could build their franchise around. That is what we're going to talk about today. Carmelo Anthony, Hall of Fame induction. We're going to talk about our favorite Melo moments, talk about some of the stories around Carmelo, and we're going to talk about EuroBasket and some of the predictions we have going forward. Y'all, this is going to be quite the episode. We got Brian Blackburn and Swiper. Y'all know what time it is. Boom and gloom. Let's get it.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to Locked On Nuggets. This is your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Y'all, we are here to talk about some great things happening around the Nuggets. I actually can't wait, Ryan, to talk about the Rico Hines run with you. I don't know if you saw the video I posted, but there are about 10 Nuggets that were there for the Rico Hines run, which is incredible to me.
Let me tell you, DNVR cut up that video into 15 separate clips that they were posting last night. It was very funny, but it was nice to see all of the different players at the Rico Hines run and being like getting going. And it does feel like basketball is creeping ever closer.
Yeah, you know, if you don't know who Rico Hines is, he is a very well-loved figure within the NBA basketball circles. He's been doing runs for years, and he gets more NBA talent at his runs than almost anybody. Dare I say, maybe anybody else. He's honestly like one of the very best at what he does. Great culture, great community, and so the Nuggets were deep. I've never seen them that deep in an off-season gym before, and I think that speaks a lot to what we're going to see this year. But we're actually going to talk about Carmelo Anthony today, and we're going to talk about some of the stuff with the Hall of Fame that's coming up with him, talk about the stories around Melo, also talk about EuroBasket and some of the predictions we have going forward. But y'all, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is closer than you think, and right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. Download the FanDuel app at FanDuel.com to get started. Y'all, Melo saved the Denver Nuggets. That is a part of my argument with what happened. Ryan, if I can give people a timeline, and this is a very important note that we will definitely talk about a little bit later. If I can give people the timeline on where the Nuggets were. Ryan Blackburn, you said you became a Nuggets fan around, 2008 or so?
Yeah, like I would say 2007, 2008, kind of in that general time where you trade for Allen Iverson. And because I was like, people got to remember, I was 11 at that point. So still learning. Football and baseball were my first love, but then I started to really get into basketball. And the last couple of Melo years were my first couple of Nuggets years. And so very interesting time to get into the sport, I'll say.
Yeah. So when we're thinking about the Denver Nuggets, a lot of fans, you might be a little young. If you're older, you definitely remember this. The Nuggets were a walking dumpster fire. Now, they had the Mahmoud era, formerly Chris Jackson era, where they had this like kind of ascending guard that was really good in the league, kind of pre-Steph Curry, pre-Monte Ellis. Ended up getting blackballed for the league because he was Muslim. Did not want to participate in the national anthem. Literally got blackballed from the NBA, was removed from the league. You had the Antonio McDyess days where he was an all-star power forward that the Nuggets used to have. They later traded him, I believe, to the New York Knicks in the late 90s. And then they had the Nick Van Exel. I'm talking about young Nick Van Exel. So they had a couple players. Robert Pack was there. We had Ellis was there. Like, they had some nice players. But if you look in the draft, the Denver Nuggets were taking players like LaFrance in the draft over players that were legitimate stars, Vince Carter and others. And then you get to Skeetish, how do you say it again?
Nikola Skeetishvili, the MVP of Summer League.
So this was 2002, I believe, when he was drafted, number 4 overall.
I think it was number 5, but like it was really high. They screwed up all their picks, man. They were not a good team. They were intentionally losing Bernie Bickerstaff back in 1997. They won like 16, 17 games or so. It was just it was a disgusting display after losing to Kemba Mutombo and others. And it felt like they were in a very dark place. And I know you're alluding to this. The drafting of Carmelo Anthony helped turn around a franchise that was just spinning its wheels.
Well, so up to this point, the Nuggets won 17 games in 2002, 2003. So this whole year, again, if people don't remember what it was like, LeBron was on the scene. Melo was on the scene at this point. LeBron was the number 1 overall projected draft pick out of Akron, Ohio, played for St. Vincent St. Mary. Everybody, I'm talking about everybody, was hoping and praying. So the whole year, Ryan, while the Nuggets were losing, I remember they just got to keep losing. They just got to keep losing. The ball's going to bounce in their direction. But then just like Cooper Flag goes to Dallas, we end up getting destiny where Penny Hardaway somehow goes to Orlando right after Shaq did and number 1 overall and basically back-to-back seasons, which was a bunch of nonsense. Then Cleveland ends up getting LeBron. And so at that point, Ryan, I was legitimately in my brain like, okay, the Nuggets have to get number 2.
Yeah.
They end up getting number 3 and Detroit gets 2. And I honestly thought that there's no way that Detroit was going to pass on Carmelo Anthony because he was the best player in high school and won the McDonald's All-American MVP, won the McDonald's All-American dunk contest, went to Syracuse, was a 20-10 player, led to Jimbo Hines' only championship. They had Hakeem Warwick was on that roster. They were really good. They had a really good point guard, McNamara, that year that was shooting over the top. They ran a really good 2-3 zone. I saw him take down Texas. I saw him take down Kansas. I was locked. Melo was my dude. I said, there's no way anybody else in this draft other than LeBron. I don't want nobody touching the Nuggets jersey. And then number 2 overall comes around, and you hear about the Detroit Pistons, and they take Darko Milicic.
Tough scene.
Have answered a 12-year-old's prayer in any better way, Ryan. The Nuggets drafted Carmelo Anthony, and Ryan, I think for me, he brought relevance back to the Denver Nuggets. And I think that is probably one of my earliest and most positive memories about Carmelo Anthony.
He did, and he did for a while, and I think a lot of Nuggets fans were left wanting for that era where you've got a guy that drafted in parallel with LeBron James, compared to LeBron James, should have won the Rookie of the Year over LeBron. That's something that you've argued about before, I know. Immediately helped take the Nuggets to the playoffs, but unfortunately, Denver never made it past the first round except for one time in 2009, where it just felt like the Western Conference was this absolute bloodbath, and there was never a point where Melo and the Nuggets could ever get over the top. Now, is that all his fault? No, the team could have absolutely been built a little bit better. George Karl, a flawed coach, certainly not the perfect coach to have around there. Obviously, they had Larry Brown for a little bit before that. And it took them a while to get the best quality. Jeff Bzdelik. I thought, did they not have
Larry was Detroit?
Okay, my mistake. But they
went to Air Force right after that, by the way. That's where Jeff went.
So they had these opportunities, and it always felt like, despite the fact that Melo was making amazing shots and plays, and there were reasons why Denver could never get over the top with him. And Nuggets fans, when he requested that trade in 2010, were left feeling betrayed. Were left feeling this was an unfortunate situation. It wasn't like Denver could never have built a winner. They were always very capable. The only reason why they didn't advance further in the playoffs the year before was that George Karl got cancer. And it was a situation where they did not have enough leadership on that team at various points. And I don't think that Melo wanted to confront that, and he would rather go to New York. And pretty clearly, he wanted to be somewhere where his family wanted to be somewhere where he wanted to be for his entire career. And as a Nuggets fan during that time, that was a shot to the heart for sure. Yeah,
I mean, Melo has his own perspective on what happened in that 2000.
Oh, he does. He's made it very clear that he has a different perspective, and I don't necessarily agree with it.
He felt that the team with George Karl, that they were basically going to blow the team up. The team was aging, kind of past this point. Remember, Marcus Camby won DPOY in 2007. They acquired Allen Iverson in 2006. Again, I remember I was in the hallway at school And I remember talking about that trade the next day it happened. I think it might have happened over a weekend if I can't remember correctly. Remember, Allen Iverson at the point was the number 1 leading scorer in the NBA, and Melo was number 2 prior to the trade happening. So,
Sure.
I mean, it was like we were getting. I mean, it was a dream, in Park Hill. I mean, Melo and AI on the same roster, and they're both relatively in their prime. But then to your point, they just ran into the Spurs. They ran into the Lakers. They just ran into teams that just have much better infrastructure, better players, and they just couldn't get over that hump. But on the other side, we're going to talk about a little bit more about this Melo port. And I think some of the things about him and the things that actually ended up happening because of him to the Denver Nuggets franchise, both good and some of that was challenging. But we're going to talk about all that and more here at Locked On Nuggets. Now, the NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready to kick off with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Now, I love using FanDuel because whatever I want to do, it allows me. I love putting parlays together for getting all the games. I love doing same-game parlays. You can jump in on live action on FanDuel. It is amazing. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. We'll be right back for more here on Locked On Nuggets. We're back here for the second segment of Locked On Nuggets. This is Swiper with Ryan. We're here talking to you about Carmelo Anthony. Make sure, y'all, if you love what you're getting here from Locked On Nuggets, give us a like, share, and subscribe on the YouTube side. We are on the way to 15,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. Also, make sure that if you're listening to this on the audio side, give us a 5-star review if you love the great content being made here at Locked On Nuggets. Also, make sure we got all these shorts we're putting out all the time. Show us some love on the shorts. Tell your mama, tell your friend, tell your cousin, tell your brother, tell your mother. We making these shorts to make sure you get updates during the day as much as possible. Shout out to you all. Thank you so much for supporting us. The Denver Nuggets. Now, yeah. Ryan, you probably weren't really too tapped into that.
I knew it. That was my intro for sure.
Allen Iverson, J.R. Smith, Chris Birdman, Melo, and Kenyon Martin.
Kenyon, baby.
That was the roster, and that roster was cash. I love that Denver Nuggets iteration.
I mean, it's a fun era to think back on. It is interesting that if you're without the context of Denver having won a championship with Jokic and with Murray and with this current iteration, it would feel a lot sweeter, right? Like those days you can look back on and certainly feel like it would feel very, very fun, very interesting. Like you get to remember history and all the things that Melo and that crew were able to bring together, and it was entertaining more so than anything. I mean, you remember the brawl that they had with the Knicks, where J.R. Smith gets a whole bunch of time, and
Melo got time.
They're punching each other. That was quite something. But I do think that when I think about that moment, and I think about those times, I do just continue to think about unseen potential. Like that team was so much more talented than the level that it ever reached. They lost to the Clippers in 2006 in a pretty unfortunate first round exit. And there were just a whole bunch of teams that they faced that they couldn't get over the top of. And then in 2009, where you kind of transition into the Chauncey Billups era instead of Allen Iverson, everybody's thinking this is our year. This is the time. This is the
Do you think they could have beat that Lakers team? They 4-1 the Mavericks, I think, and then they 4-0'd the Hornets going into that series, right?
Yeah, I mean they weren't better than that Lakers team in part because there was just a gap between Kobe and Pau versus Melo and Billups, and people don't want to fully acknowledge that, but that's just like in those moments, in those situations, those were really important things.
The gap between Anthony Carter not being able to inbound the ball twice.
I mean, hey, there's the other factors as well. There's a coaching gap there that nobody also wants to acknowledge between Phil Jackson and George Karl. So it's unfortunate. You could tell that story a number of different ways, but I do think that overall, like it can be remembered with fondness. But the part that really gets me, man, and the part that really it really rubs me the wrong way is the revisionist history on like how he was treated, how like it was just he was treated extremely well and given everything. They traded for stars, they traded for talents, they moved heaven and earth to make the roster as best as they possibly could year in and year out, getting like, even more and more serious about it as he got better and better. They were always going to become a better team. Like they were going to keep like firing shots. That's what they were going to do. And his insinuation that they would not have done that was insane.
So there's two things Melo made mistakes on in his career that I understand listening to him at the time and now. The biggest one was taking that 5-year, $90 million deal. That was probably the biggest mistake that he made. Because at the time, him and LeBron and Wade had already had a conversation off the wall. And this is not necessarily about the Nuggets. They'd already had a conversation to say, hey, we're all going to take 3-year deals. So that way, when it comes to summer 2010, we can all link. Yeah. But Melo, being we're in his situation from Baltimore, from the East Coast, and then living in Virginia when he went to Oak Hill, and his family situation, he just said, look, I'm taking the money regardless. I need to get this money. I'm not turning down $90 million. So he ends up having to stay with an extra 2 years. And then Bosh ends up being the third wheel tied into that story with Wade and Braun. But I need to let people know, if you didn't already know this, it had already been confirmed Melo and Braun and Wade were going to be the trio. And they would have absolutely won a ring. Man, I can't tell you. I loved Carmelo Anthony. Again, he was a hooper. You know, I thought he was a definition of a superstar, like the definition of a superstar in Denver. I think the gameplay stuff was always problematic. Kevin Durant came in, and by the time Kevin Durant was in 2000 and 9, 10, he was already better than Melo. But like, to be fair, like KD at 21, whatever, 31 a game. Like,
all right, okay. So here's the thing. Here's the that's nice. It's well and good, but they would not have done that in Denver. They wouldn't have done that in Denver. They would have done which part? Like they would not be like this would not be LeBron, Wade, and Melo uniting in Denver.
No, it would have been in Miami. It was Miami, yeah, a whole time in Miami.
So like, why should Nuggets fans care?
Well, I think it depends on where your perspective was. I didn't think Denver was beating the Lakers in the menu at the time, because I just thought like Lamar Odom and Bynum and Powell and Kobe, it was just too much.
So it's fine to dip.
I mean, you got to remember like where I was. Like I just didn't think that when he went to New York. The thing is, they got such a haul back that, I mean, I was like upset, but it was also like, we're getting Gallinari, getting all these players. And then thankfully they went to the draft. They got so much capital back. They ended up getting a draft pick. This is a 2010 trade.
Yeah.
And then they end up getting a 2016 first round pick swap. And because of that, they get Jamal Murray. So Melo still won Denver a championship, because obviously that wouldn't happen without it, but it just happened like the other way around. But somebody said Levi's like his swipers point that Melo could have been the third best player on championship team. Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to see that. I personally did not want Bosh to be, beat or whatever. But from a Denver perspective, I understand why people were frustrated by it.
Of course.
But the animosity towards Melo, like for me, didn't fit the crime per se, given what happened and like when it was, and just the era of basketball where everyone was moving. Kevin Garnett had moved recently, like LeBron was moving, Melo was moving. It was just a different league.
That's fine. That's fine. But like, he put the organization through a pretty tough 6 months to a year. He put the fans through a pretty tough situation throughout that entire time, because like he was getting booed that entire time by the fan base. And he's also like, it was funny thinking back on his moments. And so like he obviously wants to rectify this relationship with the Nuggets. And to be clear, I think it's time. I do think it's time to rectify the relationship. But it's the revisionist history about it, and it's the wondering, why do they still have animosity? Which you come to Denver as a member of the Portland Trailblazers in 2021, and you get booed when you touch the ball, and you're wondering, why do they care? Like, what's the problem? I remember Mark Spears writing an article then about that, and getting into like having that relationship with Melo and asking him about that and putting out that stuff. So,
but
like,
then
this has been going on for a while, man.
Add in the other section, which is the unimportant part for the fans. He was married to Lala. Lala had a burgeoning acting career at this moment. She wanted to move forward in her career. Melo, also being from Baltimore and the East Coast, and being married to Lala, and he had a son. This is when Keon was born in 2000 and 2007, maybe 8 or something like that. So like everything about Melo's family situation was screaming New York. So then eventually he goes to New York and all that stuff happened. Now, I don't necessarily like, the fallout for what happened, it is what it is. Like, I definitely don't feel, but I understand logistically why everything went down the way it went down. But then the George Karl thing from the get-go, as I've talked to George Karl about this, George Karl also like really rubbed all of those players the wrong way.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The Furious George book is is quite an interesting read. Let me tell you. Right. Let me ask you this: when or if do you think the Nuggets will retire Melo's jersey?
Do you think it should be?
I think, the problem that this runs into, there is zero way, shape, or form that they can put 15 in the rafters before the other 15 is gone. Zero.
But what's still so funny about that is, remember, y'all, Jokic got drafted 4 years later. So it wasn't even like it was a crazy amount of time. 4 years passed from Melo leap to Jokic getting drafted and getting 15, basically. So it wasn't even like there was like a real time period, right? So it's just for me, Ryan, like even when I remember Jokic coming along, when he had that 27-12 game versus Duncan and the 41-point game versus Kristoff, I was just like, how did he get 15? Like that was my whole mentality.
Here's a trivia question to those that are listening right now. Who was the first person to wear 15 after Carmelo Anthony left? It was not Nikola Jokic. Mm-hmm. It was?
I can't remember his name, bro.
It's Anthony Randolph.
Yeah, it was Randolph. That's right.
For Anthony Randolph.
Yeah, bro.
Shout out, man. But
do you think they'd do a split retire jersey? Like Manning?
I don't think they'll be split. I think they'll put up 2 jerseys. Yeah. I think they'll put them up. They will have basically, and this is slightly informed. They will have Melo's jersey go up immediately on the day that, or basically the day after Jokic retires, and then they'll do a separate ceremony with Jokic after he eventually goes up, and after he eventually retires.
Well, for me, this is all simple. Jokic, I'm not a huge monument person. Jokic gets a statue. Like it's not.
He gets the works. He gets whatever he wants. Like they should rename the next arena after Jokic. It should be Jokic Arena.
Yeah.
But because here's the thing: you talk about making careers. You were talking to me about this before. Like I would, whether we would even be in this business at all.
Oh yeah, Jokic,
Melo had not been there. I disagree. I think that I would not be in this business doing this without Nikola Jokic. Personally.
I wouldn't have grown like I have without Jokic. That's impossiple.
Yeah,
that's impossible.
100%.
That's the same thing if your brand associated with the Lakers, though. It's like it's just
it's you pay the piper. That's
right.
It's there. So
right. But on the other side, we're gonna finish this and then talk about EuroBasket and all that stuff as well. It's been a great conversation so far. We'll be right back for more here at Locked On Nuggets. Pew pew pew. Pew, 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 pew. We are back here for the final segment of Locked On Nuggets, here with one of my best friends, Ryan Blackburn, who reluctantly answers the phone when I want to talk about things that matter. But shout out to my mans. Let's always continue to take care of our brothers and sisters, and be kind to one another. Love you all. Hope you're having a great summer.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, man, Jokic gets even my brain when I was ideating just now said Melo will get his jersey retired in the blue outline, like how everybody else does. Jokic should get a gold outline on his jersey just to distinguish it, bigger, more prominent, centered place next to the however many championship banners there are, and he gets outside of Ball Arena like a massive Sombor shuffle statue, like how Jordan has the open legs over the United Center. That should be Jokic in Denver.
Man, it's funny to think about that and think about, oh yeah, Jokic will definitely like his jersey being bigger and gold and way more prominent than everybody else. He'll have to see that go up to the rafters. Like that's like what
should now? Here's a real question. Serbians won't agree with this. If Murray and Jokic play together for the next 6-7 years, they should both be retired together. But I think at that point, it's like they would have won everything. Jokic, every MVP, every championship, all of it would have came next to Jamal. And they're like, how do you separate them? And Gordon maybe has some saying that too.
I do not think that they'll do it together. I actually don't. If I had to guess, I don't think that Jamal finishes his career in Denver. I think that there's at least a part of him that would potentially pull a Klay Thompson and go somewhere else eventually. But like, and not like this isn't a malicious thing. This is just a, hey, in year 15 of your career, what do you want to do? But like, I do think that it's better to honor those guys separately, for them to all be present, for them to all have their own individual moments, and not, because you just don't want Jokic overshadowing everything, in my opinion. You would want each of those guys to have their moments, to feel like they have done enough for the organization by themselves. But like, it's 100% true. Jamal deserves to have his jersey retired when it's all said and done. Aaron will deserve to have his number retired when it's all said and done. Not sure about Mike. That's an
Mike is he a Ring of Famer?
Well, it would be the same thing, right? Like,
yeah,
actually, no, I guess not. Like
jersey retired and ring. I feel like ring is different. Like the
ring,
ring gets
they
like
don't really do a Ring of Fame in Ball Arena, right?
Yeah,
like
they do one in Broncos. Yeah,
so that's tough.
Mike does not get that. I don't think. I think the Murray one for me it's a conundrum, because it's like it's even with all the he's not one of the greatest players of his era, but like he is legitimately, he will go down if he wins another ring and Jokic gets another MVP and he's a part of another run. He will go down arguably the best guard, most successful guard in the history of the Nuggets, including David Thompson, including well, I think was small forward, but including
Fat Lever.
Fat Lever, like all
Thompson,
of them.
Like,
yeah, I mean, that's tough.
He's probably not at those guys' level. I mean, there's an argument for Fat Lever, because Fat is just different era, different kinds of stats, different way to play next to another superstar player.
He's 100% not David Thompson.
There's an argument that he will end up being the second most important Nuggets player in franchise history.
I don't know.
There's an argument. Like, just let me think about if they win another championship or two.
Yeah.
Like, we'll see what happens.
Remember, but David Thompson was like the reason why David would be so hard to pass, because you got to remember in the 1970s with the ABA NBA split and just everything that was happening. But yeah, for me, I'm looking at, and obviously it sucks that we're even getting here, bro. Because Jokic is 30, Aaron Gordon's turning 30 this year in October, I believe. Murray's gonna be 29 next February. Yeah, bro. I mean, we're Jokic. What? How far are we away from Jokic statue? What? 11 years, maybe?
I mean,
10.
That's a good question, because
did he get one while he's still playing?
No, that would be insane. For when Kobe got his statue, for when Dirk got his statue, like, there's still time that often happens before they ultimately did have those things, like did have that enshrined about him. But it'll be interesting. Like, there will be plenty of time to honor Jokic. There'll be plenty of time to honor all these guys. But with Melo, like, it's just going to be, this one is still contentious. Everybody, so he's getting enshrined in the Hall of Fame tomorrow, which is why we're doing this episode now.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what he has to say about his Nuggets tenure.
Is he a better international player than Jokic?
Melo?
Three Olympic golds, including the under 18 stuff that he did.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean,
more accomplished, obviously. Not better.
He's not better, but he's more accomplished for sure.
That 08 Melo run was crazy.
Oh yeah, I mean,
the 12 run was nuts.
Olympic Melo is a thing. It's a thing for a reason. So,
by the way, before we even get to this, what's your favorite Melo game, if you can remember one?
It's funny, like a lot of the one that really stands out with the highlights is the time that he had with the Knicks, where he had that buzzer, the game tying and then game winning shot against the Chicago Bulls. But like, it's probably the 09 run where he made that crazy shot over Dallas in Game 3.
Yeah, who tried to foul him on
the Finley?
No, it wasn't Finley at that point. I remember they tried to foul. They got mad. He swacked it too, just pure swish.
Yeah.
Remember the Paul Millsap dunk opened that season.
Yeah.
Versus Utah, where he stole the ball on an inbound from Millsap, and I'm talking about Melo, one dribble. Boo! That was like,
he starts going like, yeah. It was a great moment.
That was
great. So 100%. It's also the the battle that he had with LeBron.
Oh
going back and
yeah,
forth,
in Cleveland in 09. Oh my
yeah,
god.
no, that one is what I think about when I think about prime, like Melo in Denver. That's
Bro,
what
I think he had a 40 ball that game, dang near,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he hit the game winning shot over Braun on the left wing, bro.
Yeah, like it's crazy stuff. So like it's not like he didn't have amazing moments. Like these were great moments. We should ask about EuroBasket before we get out of here. We've only got like 3 minutes left.
Yeah,
so
that's fine. I mean, we can respect Melo a little bit before you can get on there and
we
glaze.
did, and I'm here
Ryan
to
always wants to glaze Jokic while I'm trying to talk about basketball. Question here. Ryan, who's the favorite now for the rest of the tournament for you?
It's Germany, and it's not close.
Oh my gosh, they're so good, dude.
It should be Germany. It should not be Serbia. The way that they've looked without
Bogey,
without Bogey, and then Avramovic goes down, and they look like they're dribbling in place for half of those games for half of that time without having Bogey or Avramovic to really settle the offense. So the Micic looks horrible. It's just not a good situation. I thought Stefan Jovic looked pretty good, so he should probably play over anybody else.
Yeah,
but
we know
it'll be very interesting to see. The favorites, for what it's worth, if you go to FanDuel, let me tap on these futures here real quick. Germany plus 190, Serbia plus 210, and then Turkey plus 370. Greece, plus 950. So it's really three main favorites in Germany, Serbia, and Turkey.
How much do you want Serbia to win this?
I mean, I want it for Jokic and I want it for Serbia. They've had so much heartbreak in these international competitions that, like, I really want Jokic to get this, because I'm not sure when the next opportunity is that they're actually going to make it happen. But it just doesn't feel like it's lining up for them.
Yeah, I think the injuries and stuff has kind of been the thing that's taken the wind out of the sails. But like that Germany team, bro, Tristan De Silva off the bench, Tice off the bench, like Bonga off the bench, and then having Franz and Dennis and all that. I mean, they're just so good. But
yeah, let me look up the bracket, because that could actually be very informative when it comes to what this is supposed to look like. Serbia is in a bracket. They'll face Finland in the round of 16. If they win that, they will face France or Georgia.
I hope they play France. Is not. I don't love France right now, so I think they can beat France.
They can, but like, couldn't you see Gershon Yabusele kicking butt and taking names? Like, you could absolutely
not this French team.
If they get through that, then they will play likely Germany in the semifinals.
Bro, how fun would that be though? Like to see a fully like Serbia versus Germany with the money on the line.
It'd be a crazy, crazy environment. So everybody, if you haven't already, try to tune in. Courtside 1891 is the one that's broadcasting things. There are some other places that you could probably find these games, but like this is a must watch for Jokic starved Nuggets fans that are really trying to tune into some hoops.
Yeah, or you can just go watch Rico Hines and see Jamal Murray pulling up on people. Cam Johnson, I'm sorry, bro. He's going to be so good.
That dribbling looks good, man. He looks good.
Having a small forward who can create for themselves.
Peyton Markle going off the dribble too. Been pretty impressed. Pretty good.
Yeah, shout out, man. Yeah. Maybe one day Ryan Blackburn will show him respect. That's going to do it for a Locked On Nuggets, y'all. Thank y'all so much for being here. We really appreciate you all. We'll be back next week. Have a short, I think, after the game on Sunday, I think it is. But yeah, shout out to y'all. NFL season is here. Make sure y'all tap in. That's Ryan. I'm Swiper. See ya on the other side.